Hello. Don't come for me. I know I said I was going to be live on Sunday and I'm a hot mess today, but hi, I'm back. What is up? I know I said I was going to be live yesterday, but I ended up having things to do, people to see. I see us saying Melly TV. I know. I had things I ended up doing. So, and then I had to be up early today. So I was like, I'll say refresh, dude. I didn't know if I was going to be on or not. How dare you? I know. How dare I have a life? I don't. I always am so rude when we first start off the lives. I feel so comfortable with everyone that's always here. But hello to all the new viewers. Hello, all the new subscribers. We are growing this little channel. Welcome to Mellyverse. I am Melly. We are all things true crime, getting wild, etc., etc. This is the channel for you if you want to see some ass shaking. Just kidding. We're covering true crime right now. We might do a Melly After Dark after this live. We'll see. So I left off on Suzanne Morphew. If you're not familiar with the case, she was unalived by her husband back in 2020 on Mother's Day. Allegedly, he's been charged twice, been indicted twice. It's a whole thing. I can't start from the beginning. Really? I don't know if it's just you or what. Bam, exactly. Butorphanol, izaprone, metodamine. Oh yeah, I remembered. I can't say I'm typing. Figure it out, dude. So he shot her with a tranquilizer that he uses to shoot into wildlife, deer, elk, and he injected her with that. And her body was found as of recent. That's why he has been charged again. And they found bleach in her bones, and they found the substance BAM, which is a tranquilizer she was shot with, injected with. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a wild case. If you haven't heard or you're not familiar with it, I did do the first indictment that was just released this month. That was 10 pages. That's alive. And then there's this part 2 of the old indictment. Not the old, I should say, the initial indictment that was filed in 2021. And we have gotten so much information. So make sure you watch part 1. This live should redirect you to part 1. Get caught up, all the details of the case. I don't know that I can get through all of this document again tonight. We might have to do part 3 like we did Stephen Stearns, because it's like 100 and something pages. And I think I read 40. Thank you, Brian, for the super sticker. And so I don't know that I'll be able to get through it tonight because I only want to be live for a little bit so we could go and maybe have some fun on Melly After Dark. So if you're not familiar with Melly After Dark, we go over there after true crime and hang out, drink, do all of the above, adults only. But yeah, let's get started. So I left off on page, who knows? It's a long document. Let me say hi to everyone. First and foremost, a shout out to my mods, my friends, always being here. It means so much. All the returning viewers, Brian, Asin, Junior, Laura. We're going Mellyverse. I'm very excited. Hi, Ben. Okay, let's get started. So I left off on the CBI laboratory results. Oh, and I do have my, don't come for me. I might have started early. No, I have to be good tonight because I have to be up tomorrow. I have a long day tomorrow, but tomorrow night I plan, if we can celebrate tomorrow, the pending celebration, then we will. Make sure you turn on all notifications, subscribe, do all the things. Okay, so on June 3rd, 2020, the CBI laboratory hereafter, CBI lab provided the results of the DNA analysis for the case. 65 evidence items to include DNA buccal swabs from the Morphew family members, Andrew Moorman, and others were listed. Of note, no workable DNA was recovered from the Bobcat blade or the new dart box or the dryer. Oh, wow. No DNA from the dart cap. Well, it says from the box or the dryer, but there was a dart cap found in the dryer that, I don't know, was he trying to... Hi, Jules. Oh, I missed Jules. Hi, did I miss you, Jules? I thought I already said hi. Don't come for me. It's been a long day, babies. It's been a long day. It was probably washed and dried. The heat from the job probably killed it. Okay, so do we think he left it there on accident, like he was shuffling with the blankets, the comforter, and he just like dropped it in there? Or do you think he was trying to conceal it and made it seem like, oh, no one's going to look in the comforters? I'm curious about that. Or was it just like for reals an accident? On August 31st, 2020, Special Agent Gruesing reviewed the lab results with CBI lab forensic scientist Rogers to discuss results relevant to this affidavit. The following items were noted. The DNA on the bicycle included a mixture of 4 people, Suzanne being the primary, with Barry being one of the responding CCO personnel. One of the responding CCO personnel, and the 4th male is unknown. Wait, you remember how Barry tried to say that it was another male involved in the case because there was DNA found in the car that belonged to another male, and now it's being found on the bike too. Allegedly, at the time of around the same time of the crime, there was like an SEX predator around the area. So they were trying to say that it could be related, but there's a 4th male DNA that is unknown. And I'm really curious about that. Like, do we believe Barry Morphew is guilty? Do we think, I don't know. Because when things like this happen, I'm like, wait. It's kind of like the Karen Reed case where there was male DNA found and we don't know anything. Did he also say it could have been a mountain lion and some bullshit? Yeah, he did. He said it could have been a mountain lion, and then he said he was shooting chipmunks, and then he said she could have had a bike accident. But there's a 4th male that is unknown. Oh, that's interesting. The DNA on the bicycle groups included a DNA mixture of 4 people. Suzanne, Sergeant Molinax being primary contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Okay. Interesting. So Barry's DNA was on the bicycle seat along with an unknown male DNA. But then on the grips, there's nothing from Barry. The DNA on the bicycle brakes and handlebars include a mixture of 4 people. Suzanne, Deputy Brown, and Deputy 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐫, who were primary contributors. Barry was excluded. Let's read the footnote. It says this mixture is at least 12 decillion times more likely to be observed if it originated from Barry Morphew, the sergeant, Suzanne Morphew, and an unknown, unrelated individual than if it originated from Suzanne Morphew and 3 unknown, unrelated individuals. Very strong support. Wait, what? I wonder if this is one of the reasons, like, you know how this case or the charges were thrown out? Well, there was like some court discrepancies, but I'm like, maybe it was the DNA. I can't remember exactly. Some kid could have found that in the woods and touched it or something. That is also true. Interesting. The front door of the 2015 white Land Rover was tested, and the DNA was consistent when samples from Barry and Suzanne, redacted and redacted, were excluded. I think the daughters. A plastic hypodermic cover collected from the dryer was tested by CBI for DNA. A low-level partial DNA mixture of 2 people were recovered, with Suzanne and redacted being possible contributors. Barry was excluded as a contributor. Wait. Okay, so what Laura said was right because of the heat. Does DNA get destroyed? A low-level partial mixture of 2 people were recovered. Barry was excluded on the cap. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Am I reading that right? Because I can't be drunk already. A dart needle collected by CCO submitted as a dart from box and garage was swabbed, and a partial DNA profile was developed, with Barry included as a contribute with moderate support. Okay. So not on the cap, but on the needle and the dart body. The dart body collected by CCSO submitted as a dart from box and garage was swabbed and a low-level DNA profile reference redacted. Could have been a contributor. The names they've been redacted is like the daughter's names. The interior cushions of the helmet were tested for DNA and a partial profile was developed. The mixture was more likely to involve Barry and Suzanne than coming from anyone else by a factor of 6.2 times. I'm shook. Old and cloaked. Barry's liquidation of assets. Within a month of Suzanne's disappearance, Barry began to liquidate their assets. On June 1st, 2020, Barry petitioned for guardianship in Hamilton County, Indiana, of Suzanne for him to act as her guardian. Wait, she's gone missing and he's petitioning for him to be her guardian? This filing allowed Barry to sign documents on Suzanne's behalf and sell their residences in Indiana and Colorado. Redacted filed consent for the guardianship. Below are some screenshots of the court documents. Why would they even do that if they don't even know what the crime is, like what the charges are? I'm shook. So this is State of Indiana filed June 1st, 2020? Can't see the date on there. What if somebody found the bike in the woods and touched it? Could be. Okay, so this says Suzanne Morphew, an adult missing person. Barry Morphew, petitioner herein, being first duly sworn, petitions this court to appoint a guardian of Suzanne Morphew, and in support of this petition states as follows. The alleged incapacitated person, Suzanne Morphew, is an adult person who is 49 years of age and resides on Puma Path, Salida, Colorado. Currently, she is a missing person, having left her residence on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 10th, 2020, and having not been seen since. Petitioner requests the court to take judicial notice of the investigation surrounding her disappearance, which can be easily located upon an internet search. Name of disability. Suzanne Morphew is deemed incapacitated under Indiana law because she cannot be located upon reasonable inquiry. Wait, I don't get it. Like, they don't even know what happened, and I don't think that should be allowed. Like, if a missing person is missing, I don't think goods should be signed into anybody else's name or their life or responsible until they know what's up. That's shady. Let's read this footnote. The mixture is at least 46 billion times more likely to be observed if originated from Barry Morphew than if it originated from individuals. So I have to call. Okay, so let's continue. The need exists for the appointment of a guardian of the alleged incapacitated person and that she cannot be located upon reasonable inquiry, and property in Hamilton County, Indiana needs to be sold. Wherefore, your petitioner prays the court to enter an order. 1, entering an order waiving notice and hearing. 2, finding all necessary consents and waivers of notice and hearing have been secured and filed from all interested persons. Adjudicate that Suzanne Morphew is an incapacitated person. Finding that a guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew needs to be appointed. Finding that Barry Morphew is a suitable person to serve as a guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew. Remember, she had all that inheritance money. Appointing Barry Morphew as a guardian of the estate of Suzanne Morphew. Wow. On June 6, 2020, Barry closed on the 2640 Cal Carson Road, Arcadia, Indiana property with a closing price of $750,000. Yes, it is, Jules. Is this to do with him? Yeah. Wow. So he was like trying to sell property and all of this while she was missing and nobody knew what was going on. You need to watch the part 1 and 2 I was saying. That is wild. I mean, how more obvious is it? More obvious? How much more obvious is it that like he was just in it for the money? Yes, it is. Your affiant served Bank of the West Bank of the West a search warrant for the accounts associated to Barry and Suzanne Morphew. For the account of Redacted and Barry Morphew Redacted, there's a deposit dated February 24th for $40,000. On June 19, 2020, there's a check written to Barry Morphew. The signer appears to be redacted in the amount of $30,000. On July 1st, 2020, Kent Townsend told your affiant that on June 25th, Barry paid $160,000 for the Lot 8 property at Longhorn Ranch in Salida. Barry sold this back to Townsend on February 17th, 2021 for $150,000. What the heck is he doing? On July 13, 2020, Barry initiated a title change for Suzanne's Range Rover, selling it to Troy and Elizabeth of Indiana on July 16, 2020. Wow. She hadn't even been found, still missing. Her remains still missing. And he's already selling her car and everything. On March 3rd, 2020, the recorder's office in Salida informed your affiant that they just received a special warranty deed that the Puma Path had sold for $1,625,000. Barry Morphew. Wow. Section 5 interviews. Morgan interview, May 14th, 2020. Suzanne list of grievances cites a transaction such as this one involving Monex, and she mentions one involving Redacted to Libler shortly before she disappears. What? She was sending Jeff money? Am I reading that right? The lover? On May 14th, 2020, Colorado Bureau of Investigations agent 𝐁𝐞𝐥𝐿 and 𝐭𝐫 conducted a consensual recorded interview with Morgan Ann in Salida, Colorado. Morgan stated that around July 2019, she returned to Salida and started work at Diesel Structures. She first met Barry through DSI, and they have worked together frequently. In January of 2020, Morgan was terminated from DSI over allegations she used illegal rugs, though she asserted she did not use rugs. After she was terminated, Barry hired her as a contractor for his company, Sunset Farms Landscaping. Wow, we're learning so much in this indictment. So the worker he was with, allegedly, I think the day of the crime, is this one, Morgan. She got hired for alleged rug use. Barry frequently talks to Morgan about his two daughters. He has never spoken of any marital or family issues. Barry told Morgan about the Broomfield job sometime in mid-April 2020. Morgan stated the job was supposed to take place between April 23rd, 2020 and April 30th, 2020. However, she was not sure of the exact date. Barry then changed the job to take place on or about the first week of May. Barry then rescheduled the job to begin on May 11th, 2020. Morgan stated that on May 8th, 2020, Barry picked her up from Anytime Fitness. They traveled to a job site in Salida. They arrived around 8:00 a.m., completed a rock beach project, and left. At around 11 a.m., Barry took her back to her vehicle by Anytime Fitness, paid her in cash for the job, and left. Morgan stated that Barry mentioned he was going to go hiking or biking. Barry was supposed to pick Morgan up around 5:30 p.m. on Sunday, May 10th, to drive to a hotel in Broomfield, Colorado. Cassidy Cordova was supposed to drive separately and meet them on Monday, May 11th. So May 10th is the day that Suzanne went missing. Morgan stated that around 4 a.m. on May 10th, she was confident she heard Barry's Ford F-350 drive eastbound past her house on Highway 50. Morgan stated she did not see the truck, but his truck has a very distinctive exhaust. Oh, thanks, Jules. At about 11:18 a.m. on Monday 10th, Barry called Morgan and explained she needed to bring an additional person because of the amount of work needed to repair the wall. She agreed she would bring another contractor, Jeff. Barry never provided an explanation why he left early or why he did not pick her up. Morgan stated she later picked up Jeff and drove towards Broomfield. At about 6:09 p.m., Barry called and said he had a family emergency and had to return to Salida. Barry had left tools at the hotel and said he would call her the next day. On May 11th, at about 7 a.m., Barry called Morgan and said that Suzanne was missing and he thought a mountain lion might have attacked her. Morgan explained that Barry was initially crying, but then abruptly shifted to the specifics about the Broomfield job. Morgan adamantly denied there was ever any type of sexual relationship between her and Barry. I don't know if I believe that, my opinion only, but that is crazy. There was no mountain lions that attacked her. Dude. Jeffrey interview. Jeffrey Puckett. On May 14th, 2020. Hi, beautiful Augie. Investigator Richard Wren interviewed Jeff Puckett. Puckett was one of the workers who was supposed to be Barry Morphew in Broomfield on May 10th to complete a landscape job. Puckett stated that he was contacted by Morgan on Sunday, May 10th, to see if he wanted to go to Denver to work on a job for Barry. After being asked by Morgan, Puckett contacted Barry directly. Puckett had no knowledge of the job until he was contacted by Morgan. On Monday, Puckett and Morgan met up with Cassidy, who was helping them with the job. And then this is Cassidy's interview. On May 14th, 2020, investigator Richard Wren interviewed Cassidy Cordova. Cordova advised he had contact with Barry Morphew early the week of May 4th, and Barry mentioned that he may need Cordova to help with a job in Denver next week. Barry said that he would get back with Cordova later if he was for sure needed. On May 10th, Cordova had not heard from Barry, so he called him at about 1:45 p.m. to ask about the job. Barry asked Cordova to help with the job since he was already in Colorado Springs. Cordova met the rest of the crew in Denver on Monday morning. Cordova advised he has known Barry for about 2 years because they worked together at DSI. Cordova advised that Cody had an issue with Barry over Barry firing him. Cox had been working for Morphew also. So Cody Cox got fired by Barry, and this is what Cody says. On May 14th, investigator Wren interviewed Cody. Cody worked with Barry and for the Barry's landscape business. Cody and Cordova did a landscape job in Broomfield between August of 2019 and December 2019. The general contractor did not like the job and had to be repaired several times. After the last attempts to fix the wall, Cox refused to go back to Denver to fix the wall. Barry then fired Cox. At the same time, Cox was given the ultimatum to leave DSI or be fired because of a hot urine analysis test. Cox left DSI. Cox advised that all this happened around the end of December 2019. Okay, so that's a second employee that works with Barry that's getting involved with rugs. I'm starting to question things. Cox was asked about the information he wanted to kick Barry's ass. Cox advised that the rumor was started by Jeff. Cox said that he was not happy about getting fired, but was not going around saying he wanted to fight Barry. I think it means like dirty. Cox advised that he had met Suzanne and talked about how she had brought cookies to his kids. He described Suzanne as a very nice lady. He denied having done anything to Suzanne and denied knowing what happened to Suzanne. Cox advised that Barry never talked bad about his relationship with Suzanne. During a subsequent interview on May 22nd, 2020, Cox stated he does not ever recall telling Puckett he wanted to beat up Barry. Some people believe he didn't do this alone. I don't know. Second Sheila Oliver interview. Was Sheila the best friend? On May 14th, 2020, Sheila was interviewed by FBI agent. Sheila said that she first met Suzanne when they were roommates and students together at Purdue University. Suzanne married Barry in August of 1994. Both families have children in the same age ranges and raised their kids closely. Oh, I don't know. About 2 years ago, the Morphew's daughter, Redacted, went to college in Colorado. The Morphews then moved to Colorado in 2018. They didn't have their home sold in Indiana before they left. The moved seemed to be in a rush. Barry was domineering in the marriage with Suzanne. He would tell her she had to change in order for them to get along. Money was a big issue between them. Barry was very controlling with money. He insisted Suzanne use cash, but he would charge hunting equipment on his credit card. He invested in the silver market and then bottomed out. Suzanne did not stand up for herself until recently. The marriage had become very rocky by 2018. There was hope to move to Colorado, making a new start would help things. There was never a definite reason for Redacted going to college in Colorado and the family moving there. Suzanne thought it would be nice for them to live near their daughter, though. Suzanne came back to visit Sheila twice from Colorado. Once was Thanksgiving 2018, while the Morphews were still trying to sell their house in Indiana. While Suzanne was at the Oliver's house, she had stepped away from her cell phone to use a restroom, and Barry tried calling her several times within a few minutes, then tried calling Sheila, and then tried calling Darren. He was persistent and obsessive about knowing where she was, at least when she was with Sheila. The other time was June and July of 2019, when Suzanne returned to Indiana to visit Sheila and then went to Michigan to visit her dad. Barry called Sheila saying he couldn't get in touch with Suzanne. Suzanne told Sheila this was odd because Barry never bothered to call Suzanne any other times. He was just very persistent in checking up on Suzanne when she was with Sheila. Because Sheila knows how Barry is. Jealous guy, dude. No good vibes. The Oliver's daughter Hannah was married on Sunday, May 10th. Hannah was like a daughter to Suzanne. The wedding was originally going to include many people, and Suzanne was going to attend, but due to the pandemic restrictions, it was limited to immediate family and was live streamed online. Suzanne was going to watch it. She would not have missed it for the world. On Saturday, May 9th, Sheila sent 2 snaps to Suzanne in the morning, which were opened. Later in the evening, Sheila sent 3 more snaps to Suzanne, which were never opened or received as reflected on Sheila's cell phone. So she was already missing. That is my theory. On May 9th, I think Suzanne was already possibly dead. Sheila stated there's 0% chance that Suzanne would run off and not at least tell one of her daughters or Sheila. If she had left Barry, she would have contacted one of her daughters or Sheila to let them know what was going on. Suzanne would not commit suicide. Her religious beliefs would not allow her to do this. You know, like, I sometimes question when people say that, like, my religious beliefs or their religious beliefs. Like, it happened with the pastor. You know, they were like, she wouldn't do this because she's religious. I'm like, what is religion? Like, I know you're not supposed to take your own life, but like, what if you're having like a mental episode? Like, you're not all the way there, right? So like, I don't like when people say that. Sheila and Suzanne suspected Barry had an extramarital affair based on Barry's behavior, which included him turning off his phone at times, not being where he said he would be, always secretive, and not honest with Suzanne. He had to travel back to Hamilton County, Indiana for some type of legal proceeding at least once, but maybe more. Suzanne had given up asking him why because he wouldn't tell her. As Suzanne's suspicions were aroused over the years, she wanted to find out what her husband was up to. She wanted to buy a spy pen, which she ended up doing, to find out what he was doing, but was afraid of Barry's reaction if he found out. Suzanne asked Sheila to buy the pen for her on the internet. Sheila did this and gave the pen to Suzanne while they were on vacation in Florida a few months ago, around February 2020. Yep, I think she was already gone. He lies too much. Yeah, I agree, Augie. I think she was already gone on May 9th. Maybe around like morning time or like during the day. I think she was already gone. George Davis interview. On May 15th, 2020, CBI agents interviewed George Davis, who stated he has known Barry for approximately a year and a half. George stated he had not noticed any recent changes in Barry's behavior. George explained that he and Barry work out together, usually 5 days a week. Not Barry trying to be fine. Once the pandemic restrictions closed the gym, they began working out at George's residence. George explained Barry typically comes over to work out somewhere between 1,700 to 1,900 hours. Why do they do military time? George stated, I can't stand it, stated he and Barry hunt together and work at the same fire station. George stated he physically last saw Barry either Thursday or Friday when they worked out at his house. George explained since he works 1 week on and 1 off, he believed he may have worked out earlier around 4 p.m. George stated Barry has never confided in him about any marital problems. George stated Barry loves his children and his relationship with Suzanne seemed normal. George explained he and his wife, Lindsay Davis, had gone on several dates with Barry and Suzanne. George stated that on May 10th, he was at his residence when he received a call from Lieutenant Tim Nelson, who informed him a bike was located over an embankment by Barry's house. George stated he turned on his fire radio and called Barry. Barry stated he was just outside Buena Vista on his way back. George believed he called Barry about between 5:30 and 6 o'clock p.m. George stated he responded to the area where Suzanne's bike was found. When he arrived, he noted the bike had been moved onto the road near a sheriff's vehicle. While still at the scene of the bike, George stated Barry had arrived in his black Ford F-350. Barry was wearing jeans and possibly a red-orange flannel shirt. George had conversations with CBI and FBI about his observations and conclusions that an abduction had taken place with a staged scene. Because remember, law enforcement thought that the scene had been staged. So then this is another interview by Morgan on May 15th. Remember, Morgan's employee. CBI agents 𝐭𝐤𝐸 and 𝐁𝐞𝐜𝐸 contacted Morgan at her residence in Salida. Morgan spoke about conversations that George Davis had with her in which George might be attempting to influence her future testimony. Wait, what? Spoke about conversations that George Davis had with her in which George might be trying. That's weird. Morgan stated that she had recalled some additional detail about the hotel in Broomfield. Morgan explained after she and Jeff checked in, they went to their rooms. Jeff went to room 225, the one originally rented and used by Barry, and she went to room 228. Morgan explained that Jeff could not figure out how to open the hotel room door, so she opened it. Morgan explained when she opened the door, she immediately smelt the strong odor of chlorine. Morgan stated this was not the ordinary house cleaning odor. It was more consistent with what you would smell with a pool. Remember, they found bleach, chlorine, etc. in Suzanne Morphew's femur, her bones, the remains, the little few that they had in I believe different areas. That's crazy. Okay, wait. So why would that guy George be trying to be witness intimidation if he didn't know something, right? Everything is sus in this case. Are we thinking there's another person involved? I don't know. For a minute, I was like, maybe one of the daughters is involved because I don't know. They're acting really weird. But that's just my opinion. I'm not a professional. You can make up your own opinions. This is just my opinion on my channel. Morgan stated that she observed several damp and used towels on the floor. Later, Morgan stated that Jeff found an insurance document under the pillow. The document was thrown in the trash. She could not recall what was on the document. When questioned about the job sites on Saturday, May 9th, Morgan stated she read an odd comment by Barry. Morgan explained after they completed the beach at the river house, she rode with Barry to the next site. Morgan stated she commented pigs could eat an entire human body in 2 hours. Barry commented that he would be able to bury a body and it would never be found. Wait, what? That is insane. Barry said that to the girl he was paying underneath the table, who people think he might have been having a thing with. He said that to her. A pig could eat an entire human body in 2 hours. I'm panicking. He did it. We spoke with Morgan about Barry's financial activities. Morgan stated Barry contacted his stock trader, Dan, heard over the phone with an English-type accent. Morgan stated he spoke to Dan on a daily basis. I think he could have done it alone, but then had someone help him get rid of the body. Morgan timeline, July 29th. 2 months later. On July 29th, Morgan provided a handwritten timeline to the sheriff. The following lines were noted by Special Agent Grusing for the affidavit. For Sunday, May 10th, Morgan wrote that she heard Barry's truck at 5 a.m. She had at 11:15, Barry called. He was out of breath, panting, but fatigue, kind of like a hungover, but he doesn't drink. Honestly, when I hung up, I thought to myself, he sounded like he had the worst night of his life. That is wild. Morgan provided more details about her trip to Broomfield to include her route on May 10th. She wrote, quote unquote, arrived at the hotel at 10 to 10:30, grabbed Barry's tools, went to check-in. Morgan wrote that she and Puckett checked into rooms 228 and 225. When Morgan walked into 225, the smell of chlorine was so strong it made my eyes water. I noticed wet towels on the ground in the bathroom and Barry made the bed. For Monday, May 11th, Morgan wrote that they drove to the job site from the hotel. She indicated it looked like Barry had removed top caps. That was it. We also did not have the tools we need, like a packer or gravel. Yeah, because he was hunting and chopping up a body. I think he chopped her. I think he chopped her up. It's obvious with how the remains were found and stuff. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. I think maybe in the hotel too. The hotel room is haunted. The moon was there. Okay, interview of John Schmitz. On May 16th, CBI agent Gonzalez contacted Schmitz regarding a message he had left on Suzanne Morphew tip line. Schmitz stated that he first met Barry in or about December of 2017 when they were working on the same construction project in Indianapolis. He said that Schmitz is a contractor, and Barry was a landscaper assigned to the Main Street Shops project. Schmitz stated that at some point during an altercation with Barry body bumped him, which prompted Schmitz to grab him in a headlock and pin him against a wall. He said that he recalls that most during that altercation was the evil in Barry's eyes. Barry seems like a very physically violent person. This isn't the first time people say, he's been trying to put hands on them. And we definitely know he did that to Suzanne. Well, we don't know that for a fact, not like we were in there, but she said in the text message. So I believe her. Schmitz said that when he heard about Suzanne, he just had a feeling that it was not good knowing what he does about Barry. Schmitz stated that in May of 2018, he and Barry were charged with disorderly conduct by the Boone County Sheriff's Office for the event that occurred in the December 2017. He said that the case had been continued until February of 19th when all charges were dropped. Whoa, so the Popo were involved with this altercation. Yeah, see, this is wild. Barry sounds like he has an anger problem that anger management cannot resolve. That girl's probably afraid she'd be next. Brad Oswald interview. On May 17, 2020, Agent Kovach interviewed Brad Oswald, an Indiana resident and deputy sheriff in Hamilton County. Oswald stated that he has known Barry 20 years and they were good friends. Oswald came to Barry's house in 2019 to hunt in a preserve south of Salida. Oswald knew that Barry got into a fight with another guy in Indiana over the party not wanting to move scaffolding on a construction site. Oswald described Barry as hard-headed and strong-willed. Strong-willed? He added that more like violent. He added that he was afraid to say what I think, but I think Barry was so pissed off he accidentally unalived her. Whoa. Oswald guessed that Barry and Suzanne were fighting or she confronted him and that caused him to lose his temper. Oswald said that Barry had all night to plan how to get rid of her. What? All of this information, and I can't believe these charges didn't stick the first time. I'm literally shook. Barry was big time controlling over Suzanne. Oswald said that Barry is very secretive and he would not talk to anyone if he did do something. Barry is an excellent skid loader operator and go do incredible things with the skid loader. Oswald said that Barry could have easily buried Suzanne and that Barry is smart enough to turn his phone or leave it at home. Oswald stated that Barry is quote unquote never wrong. He added that Barry is very prideful and would never confess to unaliving Suzanne. Oswald believes that Barry would have taken her away from the house if he had unalived her because she would be too easy to find on the property. Okay, that friend sounds like he knows a little too much. Those details are like a little much. Or a hoe. Yeah, that's crazy. Everyone in his life thinks he did it except his daughters, and I question that. Why is one defending him? Why is one not? One showed up to court, one didn't this time around. One was lying in the interviews. We read on the part one that, one of them was like, oh, I don't know about the fighting, la, la, la. And then the other one was like, I'm worried about them. They're physically and emotionally not well. Remember? Watch part one if you didn't of this This is the last live. The last live I did prior to this. I'm shook. I'm shook. On May 17, 2020, Agent Kovach interviewed Kurt Ziegler, who explained that he had known Barry since Kurt was 8 or 9 years old. Kurt stayed with Barry and Suzanne approximately 2 years ago in Colorado. During that stay, Suzanne told Kurt that Barry was cheating on her with a girl from Indiana. Kurt hunted with Barry near Buena Vista that year in 2018. So Barry was cheating on her first, and then Suzanne ended up falling in love with Jeff. So there's a bunch of adultery going on here. On May 11, 2020, Marcy, Barry's sister, called Kurt and told him that Suzanne was missing, that Suzanne was riding her bike and a mountain lion got her. The next day, Kurt was in Colorado talking to Barry. Kurt stated that Suzanne is not suicidal. She would not do that to the girls or Barry. During the interview, Kurt made assertions that he did not think Barry was capable of unaliving Suzanne. After speaking with Kurt on audio recording, Agent Kovach walked out to the parking lot with him. Kurt turned and said, quote unquote, "I think he did it." Kurt further stated Barry's timeline does not make sense. The bike was thrown down the embankment, the stuff found along the road was placed, and it was like thrown out when Barry was driving back. Curtis also said if anyone found out about Barry's infidelity, they would all turn on him. Barry also, quote unquote, burnt many bridges in Indiana, referring to business deals. Wow. A lot of the friends think he did it. You know, that's pretty wild to me. Gene Moorman? On May 18th, Gene, Suzanne's father, was interviewed in Mears, Michigan by an FBI agent, Novak. Gene said that the first time he heard from Barry following Suzanne's disappearance was on Saturday, May 16th, 2020. Barry called and sounded distraught, saying that he felt so badly and the authorities were trying to pin Suzanne's death on him. Barry said he was interrogated for 5 hours. Gene said that he did not find it odd, however, that Barry waited almost a week after Suzanne's disappearance because Barry was very emotional and going through a lot. Gene found it odd, though, that neither of his granddaughters or Barry were home on Mother's Day. Ding, 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 dude. This is a big red flag to me. I don't know why. I don't know why. Melly Investigates brings me to this whole thing and why the daughters are so protective of their dad, and what really, my series of Suzanne Morphew is What Lies Beneath, because you know that movie, but you know also like there's something going on here within this family. Yeah, we already talked about this. Yeah. Definitely something going on. Mormon. He says Barry seldom worked on a Sunday, and it was unusual that he would choose to work on the Sunday of Mother's Day. Suzanne never told her dad she and Barry were having marital problems. Gene believed that Suzanne would have confided in her older sister, Melinda, who lived in Tennessee. Barry and Suzanne went through stressful times when they had a hard time selling their home in Indiana and struggled to pay for their mortgages in Indiana and Colorado. A little over a year ago, Gene loaned Barry and Suzanne $100,000. Barry said Barry paid Gene back with a personal check on a quarterly basis and paid off the loan early, approximately 3 months ago. The last time Gene saw Suzanne was approximately 2 years ago. She met him in Florida for a vacation. Suzanne was by herself and was supposed to stay with Gene for 7 days, but abruptly left after 3 days to meet her husband on the West Coast. He was upset of her leaving early. However, he did not tell her how he felt. Gene passed away on November 10th, 2020. He passed away without even knowing anything about his missing daughter, who he hadn't seen in 2 years. That's really sad. On May 18th, Agent Kovach interviewed Suzanne's brother, Andrew. Andrew stated that in Indiana a few years ago, Suzanne found a female's bracelet in Barry's truck and confronted him about having an affair. Wow. So like everybody knew what was going on. Barry's sister, Marcy, ended up claiming the bracelet belonged to her. Barry had exceptional hunting skills. Barry told Andrew that his surveillance system at home has been down for a few months. Andrew made the statement, "Don't get between Barry and his money." Following Suzanne's disappearance, Barry told Andrew that Suzanne crashed her bike or was forced off the road. Barry also said he thought a mountain lion dragged her off. Barry used the mountain lion idea for 2 to 3 days before the theory changed to someone taking Suzanne. Then Barry could not get past the idea that Suzanne was being molested. Andrew said that Barry is a very good skid loader operator and he could have placed her in a tarp and put her anywhere on his way to Denver. Barry knows how to cover scent by using skunk spray and is an exceptional hunter. Andrew did not know Suzanne to have been an early riser. Aaron Blondeau. On May 20th, your Alfia interviewed Aaron. Blondeau is part of the IT person for the Grace Church in Salida, Colorado. On Sunday morning, May 10th, the church broadcasted the service live on YouTube. Aaron is responsible for getting the broadcast set up on the church end and broadcasting it to YouTube. He advised he could not see who logged into the broadcast. Yeah, and the mountain lion bleached her bone. Yeah, seriously. And got rid of her stuff. On July 27, 2020, Special Agent Grusing interviewed Tim at his place of business in Salida, Colorado. Tim stated that Dan Thomas, a developer friend of his, told him on September 19th that if Tim was looking to sell his backhoe attachment for a skid steer, Barry Morphew might buy it. Thomas gave Tim the cell phone number for Barry, and Tim traded texts with Thomas gave Tim the cell phone number for Barry, and Tim traded texts with Barry around September and October 2019. Barry told Tim he was interested in buying the backhoe attachment and for the asking price of $5,000, but Barry never met with him to complete the deal. On Saturday, May 9th, Barry then again reached out to Tim, said he was interested in buying the backhoe. Tim traded texts and calls with Barry that day, and Barry asked via text at 1:46 p.m., Are you around to look at the backhoe? Tim replied at 1:49 p.m., "No, but you can drive by and have a look, 58 Jones Avenue." Tim does not know if Barry drove by the lot because his surveillance cameras were not functional. Barry sent Tim a text message at 1:50 p.m., "Okay, will do. I'll call to discuss." But Barry never called, and Tim did not further pursue him. Tim only found out that Barry was the husband of Suzanne after the case gained publicity. Tim explained the backhoe attachment could easily be used to dig a deep hole or trench in a very short amount of time. Timothy, aka CBD Tim. As cited previously, Barry told CBI on June 17th and June 25th that Tim might be responsible for Suzanne's disappearance. Investigators identified Tim as Timothy 𝐭𝐿𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 from Colorado. Your Affiant and Special Agent Grusing contacted Tim and on July 28th in the presence of his wife, Megan. They were not advised that the purpose of the interview was set around allegations made by Barry that Timothy was a drug dealer who should be considered a suspect in the disappearance and death of Suzanne. Timothy advised that he met Suzanne at a farmer's market in Salida in 2018, and Suzanne told them about her battle with cancer. She said she had lymphoma in her 20s and the cancer was coming back. She was looking for treatment that was non-traditional to buy some time because she was feeling run down. The news provided 4 purchase orders from Barry and Suzanne from October 2018 through April 2020 for the hemp oil. Timothy only spoke to Barry once, when Barry called him in the summer of 2019 and said that Suzanne's lymphoma was back and he needed more oil. Suzanne interacted with Timothy about 5 or 6 times and never gave any indication that she was having to be secretive about taking the oil around Barry or that Barry disapproved of her taking the oil. Carrie Woodell. On January 11, 2021, Special Agent Harris and Special Agent Grusing interviewed Carrie from Salida, Colorado. Carrie met Suzanne at the Extra Flex gym in Salida in the fall of 2018 as they worked out together during the same time in the afternoons. Suzanne's workouts were very similar to Woodell's, and Woodell asked her if she was preparing for a competition. Woodell began giving massages to Suzanne in March 2019 and continued through September 2019. During the treatments, Suzanne told Woodell that throughout her marriage, including Indiana, she raised her girls by herself. She and Barry moved to Colorado to slow down, but Barry started working for DSI and was trying to start his own business. 𝐿𝐿 estimated that Suzanne and Barry traveled to Denver once every week or two in 2019. 𝐿𝐿 told agents that she felt guilty for not accepting Suzanne's invitation in November of 2019 to spend more time together. Suzanne approached 𝐿𝐿 in the gym and asked, "Carrie, can we start going out?" She told 𝐿𝐿 she needed to start doing things with a friend. 𝐿𝐿 believes that Suzanne was going to speak with her about Barry's failed attempt a few days earlier to ask 𝐿𝐿 to start giving him massages. That is kind of weird. 𝐿𝐿 has been doing massages for men and women for about 17 years. She has worked on numerous wealthy white men who seem like they have a full life but are missing something. These men, like Barry, are looking to fill that void through church, money, cars, and sex relationships or other means and cannot seem to find what they are looking for. Wait. That sounds like interesting. Why would a masseuse say something like that? 𝐿𝐿 met Barry in September 2019 during her morning workouts at the gym. She did not know that Barry was married to Suzanne until she saw him sign in on the register one morning. When she saw his name, everything that Suzanne told 𝐿𝐿 about the problems with her husband clicked in 𝐿𝐿's mind. Barry was alone during his morning workouts. He watched 𝐿𝐿 in the gym to the point of making her feel uncomfortable. She perceived him as a predator with a huge ego. Barry's truck got her attention because of its size, noise, and firefighter plates. Barry was not always working as hard as Suzanne stated because he was in the gym about 4 times a week. Barry sounds like a pig. I think once this case comes out, then everyone knew them or anything new came forward and give every bit of, yeah. Once 𝐿𝐿 was working out in the afternoon and she saw Barry walk up to the second floor of the gym, he looked all around the gym until he saw 𝐿𝐿. After a while, she walked up to the second floor and he said, "Hi, I'm Barry Morphew. Have a good workout." 𝐿𝐿 thought her Dead Men Tell No Tales t-shirt might have attracted him. She told Barry, "Your wife is a wonderful person." While 𝐿𝐿 and a friend Connie, who is an active member of the Grace Church, were eating in the corner patio of the Boathouse restaurant in November 2019, Barry and redacted Morphew sat down a few tables over. He glanced over at 𝐿𝐿 multiple times, making her feel uncomfortable. Barry approached her, stretched his back, and said words to the effect of, "I'm so happy to see you out tonight. My back is hurting. I'd like to schedule an appointment." 𝐿𝐿 did not want to give Barry her phone number or give him a massage. So she told him she did not have her phone with her and he should schedule through his wife. 𝐿𝐿 told agents she wondered how many other women Barry pursued who did not steer him to talk with his wife. Wow. 𝐿𝐿 felt Suzanne's request to talk a few days later occurred because Barry has a huge ego, felt rejected by 𝐿𝐿, and he likely bashed her to Suzanne. From the first time 𝐿𝐿 met Barry, she said it felt like he was putting his tentacles out. Laura and Andrew Richardson. On December 1st, 2020, Special Agent Grusing and Harris interviewed Laura and Andrew at their Salida residence. Laura met Suzanne through church in 2018 and heard Suzanne was battling cancer. She approached Suzanne and offered to be her friend. Since Suzanne was new to Colorado, away from her family and friends, Laura went to at least 3 cancer treatments with Suzanne. As Laura and Suzanne got to know each other, Suzanne shared that Barry chose to go to work over going with her to her cancer treatments. As Suzanne began to feel better, she was more fiery, and she traveled out of state without Barry to see her father. When the Richardsons went to the Morphew house for the second dinner, Barry announced that Redacted was a virgin and there was no other virgins at Western State. The statement was odd to Andrew and Laura for multiple reasons and seemed more like a declaration than a conversation. Why is he talking about his daughter being a virgin? That is creepy. A fucking weirdo. Weird. I don't like that. On May 1st, 2020, Laura and Susie celebrated Suzanne's birthday at Laura's house. Suzanne was very healthy and positive as she showed them her mountain bike and talked about Redacted receiving an award at school. She spoke about doing the financial books for Barry and that would serve as a bridge between them. Suzanne also started training online to become certified as an athletic trainer. She was coming out of cancer treatment and felt like she had a second chance at life. Andrew said he and Laura responded to the scene where Suzanne's bike was recovered on May 10th after Redacted called Laura about 9 p.m. Andrew and Laura stood with Barry on the road for 4 hours while law enforcement, along with search and rescue, searched for Suzanne. Andrew told agents that Barry was silent for most of their time on the road, regardless of suggestions Andrew made. Andrew told Barry they should explore the tracks around the bike or go down to the area where Suzanne's bike was recovered to see if they could see anything. Andrew wanted to search, look around, and ask questions to figure out what happened to Suzanne, but Barry was not interested. Barry looked at Andrew and said, "You're a really good man." Andrew did not know why Barry said that in the context of their situation. Andrew described Barry's expression as stone-faced throughout the evening. Andrew said the bike positioning in relation to the road made no sense for an accident to have occurred because the rider would have needed to make a 90-degree turn from the road to head downhill. Barry told Andrew he made the trip from Denver to Salida in an hour and 15 minutes or some similar ridiculous amount of time once he thought Suzanne was missing. Andrew did not understand why Barry waited that long until that night to come back if he thought Suzanne was on a bike ride that morning. Andrew helped with the searches for Suzanne, which Andrew described as disorganized. Barry and his friend George searched by themselves. Barry was gone all day, every day, and left his girls at the house. Barry tracked a mountain lion for an entire day across Highway 50, but he did not find anything. I bet if when he was tracking that mountain lion, if he was doing some shady stuff. In other words, no one believed his ridiculous stories, including the cops. Yeah. On the third or fourth night after Suzanne went missing, Barry had been complaining about law enforcement's focus being solely on him. Andrew went to speak with a friend of his who lives nearby and is a defense attorney. The attorney listened to Andrew and he gave Andrew his business card to give to Barry. He told Andrew that Barry needed to take a polygraph test so that law enforcement could focus elsewhere. Andrew took the card and gave it to Barry, explaining his conversation with his attorney. Barry was very excited to get the card and grateful for Andrew's referral. However, when Andrew told Barry the attorney recommended that he take a polygraph, Barry looked at Andrew and said, "I don't think I'd pass a polygraph." Andrew waited in uncomfortable silence for a few moments to allow Barry to disqualify his statement. Andrew told agents he got chill from Barry's response and thought Barry's reaction was very strange. When Barry said nothing else, Andrew awkwardly told him he had to go and he left. Andrew waited until the present day to tell law enforcement about the encounter with Barry because he did not know if it meant anything to the investigation. Barry has since told Andrew that he spoke with the attorney a few times and the attorney has been helpful. On December 8th, 2020, Laura said that Barry called her on December 4th at 10:30 a.m. and they spoke for 10 minutes. Barry said his girls were angry with Sheila, having a hard time with her and do not want to talk to her. Barry told Laura he does not know why Sheila is doing this. He said words to the effect of, "Suzanne's not dead, she's coming back." Barry thus did not know why Sheila felt she needed to remember Suzanne or grieve. Laura was shocked by these words, but did not ask Barry why he thought Suzanne is alive. There's a lot going on here. Matt Craig. John Matthew, Matt Craig of Noblesville, Indiana, was interviewed by the agents. Matt explained that Barry sold BLM landscaping services and Sunset Tree Farms to Matt, his brother Dan, and Hank. Matt's father signed as a guarantor for the purchase of the business, which occurred on January 12, 2018, when they paid Barry $189,000. Barry told Matt he was making $200,000 to $300,000 per year, and the client list in his phone alone was worth the investment. After paying the initial $189,000, Matt and others agreed to pay Barry $50,000 per year over the next 4 years, due on August 1st of each year. They paid $50,000 to Barry in August 2019 and $50,000 in August 2020. Matt told agents that Barry's business was possibly worth $20,000 instead of $389,000 they paid. Barry used his relationships with the church and his supposed good reputation to fool Matt and his family into buying a worthless business. Matt's father refused to allow Matt and the others to hire an attorney and sue Barry because he did not believe in lawsuits. What? What kind of planet doesn't believe in lawsuits? His father felt it was his fault for agreeing to be the guarantor and he planned to pay off the debt. Dude, I'll file a lawsuit if someone is standing on my curb. Wait, this is crazy. This is crazy. Because remember, Barry wanted all the money that Suzanne had. Ted Turner. On October 27, 2020, Special Agent 𝐭𝐤𝐥𝐿 and Harris interviewed Ted Turner in Indiana. Turner explained he and Barry raised deer for hunting purpose. Whoa. This makes me feel uncomfortable. You guys know how I am about animals. Turner explained he and Barry raised deer for hunting purposes, selling the deer for $5,000 to $7,000 so hunters could release the deer and hunt them for their horns. What? He added the deer are normally released in acres that are fenced, and thus the chance to shoot the deer is guaranteed. Sometimes the people who thought the deer would act as guides and charge wealthy people who are willing to pay $15,000 to $20,000 to hunt a deer and get a guaranteed set of horns. Wait, is that how expensive they are? Do you guys want to know something crazy? Oh my God. Not that I'm going to do anything crazy, but my parents, they have like a lot of property and there's deer all around and they're so cute. And there's like 100 million deer living in their backyard. Yeah. And the county has like tried to come to them and be like, you can't be doing that. And my dad's like, dude, talk to my lawyer. Like, I didn't do anything. They just like my backyard. And so they can't really do anything. They just have all these little families of deer living in my parents' property. And they're so cute. I can't imagine this sick monster doing something like this. I'm disgusted. I'm in the wrong business. No, Laura, we can't do it. When agents asked Turner how those who purchased the deer transported them off his property, he stated they bought a trailer, usually a horse trailer. The purchaser most often used a tranquilizer dart on the deer because herding them into the trailer is difficult. Purchasers like Barry had their own tranquilizer darts and GUNS for such purposes. When the interview was concluding, Turner remarked, Barry would slit my throat if he knew Turner was talking to the FBI. Turner refused to elaborate on why he made such a statement, but said all the deer farmers talked to each other and they knew what Barry was doing. I'm sorry, I can't. Nope. I can't do it. I don't care if it's $20,000. Nope. Yeah, Augie, we miss you. I'm more upset when animals get hurt than people. Yeah, Augie, I'm freaking out right now. February 16, 2020, Special Agent Harris and 𝐭𝐤𝐥𝐿 interviewed George Wimmer by phone. Hey, this is a legal document too. I'm saying what's there, public information. So don't come for me. Don't come for me, George. No. Wimmer explained that he first met Barry in 1998 or 1999 when he went to work for Barry at Salisbury Brothers. Barry was a foreman and Wimmer was a manager. Following those years, Wimmer went to work for a friend for a year and a half. He then came back around 2004 and Barry was starting his own business. Wimmer did not have much further contact with Barry. He lost contact with Barry and found out years later he was selling his business to a young man named Kyle and another guy. Wimmer told Kyle to be careful because he had seen a lot of Barry's deals go south. Kyle and his friend became defensive. Wimmer told him, you are dealing with the devil. Following this conversation, Barry blew up Wimmer's phone. Wimmer eventually answered and Barry vented at him for warning the boys. Wimmer described Barry as shady, not on the straight and narrow, doing lots of deals under the table, working in cash, hiring a lot of illegals. Barry told people that his dad dying affected him so badly he could not run his own business. Barry was not planting trees at the proper depth, either too shallow or too deep. He knew that he had to adjust the trees or they would die, but he was too focused on making money and moving on to the next job. Barry planted rows of trees incorrectly and hurriedly, and they died. When Wimmer learned Suzanne was missing, he Googled Barry and read all about what was going on with her disappearance. Wimmer was intrigued by it and saw the Tyson Draper video. After Wimmer watched it, he concluded that Barry is guilty for sure. Planting trees? Yeah, I have no idea. We're going to plant some trees with Melly one time. Did y'all see that? Yeah, I love Dexter so much. Love Dexter. I would date Dexter. Melly, are you saying you would date a serial killer? Minus the serial killer part. He's hot. Hey, Eternal. Hey, Jason. Wimmer said that Barry thinks he's a really good liar, and he is not. Barry is the kind of person that will just stand there and tell you something you know damn well is not true. Wimmer would often just listen and not contradict because he did not want any conflict with Barry. Wimmer sent Barry a series of texts on September 23rd, 2020, accusing Barry of killing Suzanne and telling Barry he would rot in hell. Okay. All of the friends think he's guilty, dude. I can't believe this indictment and he was still let free for years. I wonder, like, what else he has done in that time, from the first indictment to the charges being dropped to like this month, well, June, because we're in July. If you didn't know the months of the year. Okay, Holly Wilson. From October 2020 through December 2020, Holly Wilson recorded her phone and in conversations with Barry. Oh, Holly was recording their phone calls and gave them to detectives. Holly and her husband Jeff knew Barry and Suzanne well through their church in Indiana. During these recordings, Barry told Holly words to the effect, quote unquote, "You are Suzanne to me." He held her hand while in the car, gave her a kiss goodnight, told her Suzanne would approve of whatever would happen in the relationship, and twice touched Holly's breast, pretending like the touches were accident when her husband's head was turned away or not looking. What? Barry told Holly that he had an ex-FBI guy working for him and sometimes saying he had a PI working for him who charged him over $50,000. Once Barry told Holly and Jeff that he may have found where someone was holding Suzanne and asked Jeff to come to Colorado to cut the guy's balls off. The following is a brief summary of the pertinent quotes from the recordings of Barry and Holly. Barry's a dirty freak. TF, Barry is a... Okay, let's see the freaky things he said. On November 5th, 2020, when Barry asked if he had thoughts of what happened to Suzanne, he responded that he had two ideas. Barry stated, one, somebody took her right where the bike was. Just they threw her in the car, or she got in willingly, whatever, and ran off. Barry added, or somebody chased her and she's in the river, and she's still in the river now, today, somewhere in a log jam. Barry said he did not see anything else, adding the FBI was telling them that she left on her own. They were trying to tell me that she left. Barry said she did not leave. He knew she would not do that. Holly asked Barry if this guy was able to go through the list of people whom Suzanne was Facebook friend requesting. He replied that he had not spoken to him about it. Holly wondered out loud if someone else hacked into Suzanne's Facebook. Oh my God, remember we thought that yesterday? We're like, why would she forget her password all of a sudden when she was having an affair and then trying to reset her password when she was already dead, in my opinion. Holly said it was likely for Suzanne to send out requests asserting, if I had to bet, I'd say it wasn't her. Barry said, yeah, she wasn't like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Saturday. Not all saying calling me out. Oh my God. Barry was asked about the last thing he said to Suzanne. He replied, I don't even know. It was just a normal night. We just ate dinner together and just had a quiet evening like we do. Holly's spouse asked Barry what someone would do with Suzanne if that person took her. Barry responded that the person would keep her in a basement. Holly challenged Barry that someone would hold onto her for 6 months. Wait, what weirdos? Barry said, and if that's the case, then she's underwater. He added, because there's no evidence of anything else that surfaced. All these theories, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm starting to freak out. December 5th. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Holly talked to Barry on FaceTime, and he said, I've been talking to the detectives and the FBI guy regularly now, he added. They seem to be on my side, finally, and helping me kind of feel better about things because of what they're telling me. Barry thinks they have Suzanne's phone. He said they found it by the bike, or they found it on the search, or they found it in the house. They won't tell me. They won't even tell me they have it, but I'm pretty sure they have her phone. No. I don't believe her phone was ever found to this day. I can't believe he smiled in court. He's the devil. This guy has thought of multiple ways how to get rid of a body. Probably while he was shooting them baby deers. Didn't they find her? They found her remains. Not her phone, though. I wonder if he did feed, like, some of her remains to animals. You know what I mean? Like, he was a hunter. He was of animals. So I'm just thinking, like, I don't know. Barry said, my guy knows I had nothing to do with it. He's already said he's proven that with his investigation. Holly asked what the private investigator is waiting for then in talking to the detectives. Barry replied, I think because they've been on different pages for so long, and he told me that everybody's told me this, 80% of the time it's the spouse. Barry asserted the FBI told him they never give the house and cars back, and yet they gave Barry his house and his cars. Barry said he told them, I think I know why you did. Because you found no evidence. Because there is no evidence, it doesn't exist. That little murderer knew he was going to get alive with, me not being able to talk, get away with it. He might be crazy enough for that. It wasn't her whole body, though. Wasn't it just, yeah, it was her bones. Wow. December 17th. Yeah, I don't know. My opinion, I definitely think he's guilty. Barry, okay, so this is from December 17th. Barry says, I don't know if she was what she was doing, putting in her body behind my back, but all I did was work or hunt, and she had idle time. Idle hands are the devil's tools. She had 21 years of doing absolutely nothing but being a mom. Holly later said that Suzanne going to AI or Al-Anon helped her detach from Barry. Barry said, let's go. I can't hear it. He stood up immediately and walked out of the restaurant. Holly said that Barry could never describe what his last image of Suzanne was to her. Barry said, well, I'll tell you right now. We had sex that night and she was naked. Then I went to sleep. So she obviously got up and put on her pajamas. And when I left the next morning, she was laying right there in the bed. I didn't pull up the covers and look at what she was wearing, if that's what you're asking me. And then Barry, he says again, and it upsets me that women have to have their little secrets behind their husband's back when I'm her best friend, and it pisses me off. It pisses me off that if my wife went behind my back and said that shit about me. He's raging. He's like raging angry. He continued, that's the problem with females. They get their little things going between each other and they have no respect for their husbands. What? Barry later said, well, she said I cheated on her. Holly confirmed Suzanne told her the same. Barry said, but I didn't. Barry later said, I mean, if I would have done one thing wrong, I would be in jail right now. Barry said, what you guys had in your little private conversations has nothing to do with the situation that we're in unless she left on her own. And if that's the case, then I'm sure she'll surface someday for her daughters. But I don't believe that's the case. I truly believe that her disappearance was out of anyone's hands but God's. And God allowed that to happen for some reason, and we might never know until we get to heaven. Holly said if she had told Barry before Suzanne's disappearance that Suzanne was detaching from him, he would have reacted in the same defensive way. Barry said, no, I would have sat my wife down and had a heart to talk about it. He adds that he would have not been upset. Barry later said, quote unquote, and I was afraid that talking to the FBI, and when we talked about the situation and they said she could have left on her own, I said the only reason she would leave is because she wouldn't have me hounding her about her problems. And she was free to drink, free to drug, and do all of that. He sounds so angry talking about his wife missing. Yeah. We're going to read one more section. Section 6. Barry's interview with the FBI in 2021. The section includes summaries of audio and recorded interviews by the FBI after Barry was informed of Suzanne's affair. She doesn't always have, she had bleach in her bones. Yeah, I don't believe that whole thing. Like, yeah, maybe she drank or whatever. Yeah, maybe she was on antidepressants, but do I think she was a ruggie? No, I don't think Suzanne was a ruggie. Okay, January 27th. In this interview, Barry stated that numerous times that he had no idea of the affair, and he asked multiple times to know who her lover was. He initially guessed her lover lived in Arizona and said that maybe Suzanne's disappearance was a form of God's judgment for the affair. Wow. What about your affair, Barry? Like, God's just going to forgive you? Like, what a narcissistic. Special Agent Goosing and Special Agent Harris met with Barry at his condo in Poncha Springs, Colorado, to inform him of the affair. Upon meeting Barry as he was walking behind his house and telling him agents need to speak with him privately, and he said, okay, I'm working right now. Can I get your number? He eventually agreed to speak with the agents. After being informed Suzanne had an affair, Barry asked who the person was and how long the affair had been going on. He then said, this is a complete surprise to me. I have no idea of who this is and would never suspect her of doing this. And he knew, remember the Christmas party, the Facebook stuff. I'm shook. They were made for a wicked long time. Yeah. He later said, quote unquote, because I never see it on her phone. How was she? Like, how was she cheating? Special Agent Goosing asked that if Barry remembered her handing him her phone in Mexico, that he was trying to see who she was talking to. Barry said, yeah, wasn't in her phone. Snapchat? Barry said, I can assure you I had no idea there was another man. Barry said, I had no idea they were communicating. And if you guys are trying to tell me that I found out about this and did something, that's completely wrong. Special Agent Goosing said that Suzanne and her lover's communication stopped Saturday afternoon when she went missing. Barry said, well, I was with Suzanne. I came home to have lunch, went into town to get the blade on my bobcat fixed, and I had the wrong timeline on that. So if she was talking to this individual, it had to be when I came into Salida. Special Agent Harris told Barry that Suzanne was communicating with the individual on some occasions while Barry was in the house. Barry asked, where is this guy from? Arizona? The special agent told Barry hundreds of communications existed between Suzanne and this person, especially on Saturday before Barry came back home just before 3 o'clock. Barry asked, can you tell me how many months it's been going on? Special Agent Goosing said Barry could probably answer that himself. Barry said, well, I can't answer that on the way she treated me because she didn't treat me like she wanted to leave me. Special Agent Goosing told Barry about the recording pen and the conversation when Barry asked Suzanne to tell him if she loved him, and she could not answer that she loved him. Barry was asked if he remembered that. Barry was shaking his head side to side to signal no as he replied. Yeah, I remember. And then he began to cry audibly. Not him crying. Okay, this is supposed to be like a sexy selfie of Barry. Is this it? Barry, I don't think you're very sexy in that picture. You look like a scary man. Okay, Barry stated she's always been insecure because she didn't have a father. He left, was a drunk when we were dating, insecure that I'm cheating, I'm having an affair when we're married, and I got a secretary that I'm having an affair with her. You can go back through my entire life. I've never even touched, let alone talked or texted another woman besides my wife. You'll never find that. Well, because Barry had another device, I think. Right? The fuck is he wearing? This guy's fuck. Yeah, dude. I do not want to date Barry. Barry asked to guess who Suzanne's lover was and said it was either David Huff or Kevin Stout. Am I right? Agents did not confirm, and Barry began to talk about Suzanne possibly being in the river. Special Agent Grusing asked, the river from an accident or an abduction? Barry said, either one. I don't think it. The way I see it, it was an accident, and she ran from somebody to the river. He continued, if she got in the river and hit a rock with her head from that could have been a possibility, or they could have grabbed her at the river and took her up. Barry was asked if he found out something about Suzanne on Saturday or if someone else was involved. Barry shook his head and said nothing. There's nothing that I found out on Saturday about her having an affair. Nothing. I seriously believe that in my heart. I so believe that's what set him off. I don't think he popped a Xanny and was drinking. No, I think he found that selfie that she sent Jeff. He's playing Sherlock's Holmes with 1,000 different theories. Yeah. Barry, and have you guys noticed that not once did he ask for a lawyer? He's been doing all of these interviews, and that was like a huge thing too. And the first time the indictment came out, no lawyers. Like, hello? You're not going to ask for a lawyer if you're going to interview? I always, question that because, like, I asked for a lawyer the minute a police officer is talking to me. I mean, I don't even talk to them, but, you know what I mean. Barry said, I've already told you this. This is the first day I found out she had an affair. You researched the lady. She's an angel. She's a saint. This just blows my mind, and it's going to blow anybody's mind to find this out. He added, and as soon as they find out, they're going to say, old hothead Barry found out about this and killed his wife. Dude, that's exactly what we think, Barry. No, she took a selfie of herself and sent it to her boyfriend. Yeah, and that's why I think he caught her. Remember, then he was trying to break into the Facebook account. Is it Barry or is it her lover? That's Barry. What is he doing? Special Agent Grusing told Barry about the May 6th text where Suzanne said, I'm done. Let's just handle this civilly. Barry was working and his responses were that, quote unquote, life was not worth living and going to meet my savior, and life is a mere grain of sand compared to eternity. Okay. I think he's a psychopath. Barry said, yeah, I was just trying to hurt her. That's all I was doing. I would have never unalived myself with my daughters. Special Agent Grusing told Barry that investigators noted that Suzanne did not tell Barry not to commit suicide. Barry said, I know. Well, it makes perfect sense now. Why? Back then, it didn't come to me. I would want her to say, no, don't hurt yourself, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it didn't come. Barry said, I appreciate it, but I want you to know that I've been a Christian my whole entire life. I accepted the Lord. I love the Lord. And he knows why this happened, and I got to trust him. I have to trust that he did this for a reason. What in the... He added, I'm telling you, I had no idea of this until today. But looking at everything now, things are making a little bit more sense to me from God's point of view, because I would never understand why God would take away my wife after I fought 2 battles of cancer with her, had 2 miracle babies that we shouldn't have had, and had a wonderful life together. Like, what about these killers always brings like religion into this, you know, like I think it's so wild. Remember the pastor? You guys know the Micah Miller case, like the pastor? Ugh, that scarred me, dude. Barry continued, I can promise you that I knew none of this until today. Barry said, she never talked Saturday to me about leaving. I mean, did you find communication between her and I about that? Because to me, Saturday was a good day. We had a good evening together. Saturday, Friday, we had an argument on the phone. Friday, I'm sure you've seen that. Special Agent Grusing told Barry that for some reason it seems he's placing Wednesday as Friday. And Barry said, oh. Special Agent reminded Barry that it was Wednesday when Suzanne said she was done. And Barry said, okay, then that was Wednesday, not Friday. Friday, she would go through these times where we would fight like that, and then everything would be back to normal. And then it was like nothing happened, and then we'd go eat dinner, then we'd go home. We would go home, have sex, everything would be fine. Special Agent Grusing told Barry that investigators have a fuller picture of his actions in Broomfield. J.P. Miller, that's his name, yeah. I rebuke you in the yeah. Cry me a river, Barry. Yeah, Barry. He admitted to trying to hurt her by threatening exactly eternal. Crime of passion. Crime of a psychopath. Okay, Barry said, I told Joe and Derek everything. And Joe's like, well, why are you going to 5 different trash cans and throwing all kinds of crap away? And then Barry said, I've done that my whole entire life. My truck is a mess. I throw things away here and there because I'm a tightwad and I don't want to pay for trash pickup or this or that, or I had time. That day I was going to have more time to spend on the wall that day. But when I got to it and realized that my workers were going to come, I could have just have them do this stuff. And I had time on my hands. Dude, just throw all the trash away in one trash can at the gas station. Like, these lies, no. Special Agent Grusing asked Barry about coming home on Saturday after errands and whether he remembered where Suzanne was when he got home. Barry said no. Special Agent Grusing asked if she could have been out on the deck. Barry said, I don't remember, shaking his head side to side before answering. I do not recall where she was when I got home. I don't even remember going to town and doing that. Special Agent Grusing told Barry that investigators have some images to show him. And Barry said, of that she sent to this guy, the special agent confirmed and said that it might be the last time outside of Barry that she's seen by someone else alive. Barry said, I'm telling you right now, there was nothing out of the normal Saturday afternoon. Nothing. It's almost like that evening, nothing ever happened to us that week. She's like one person one day, another person the other day. And when she acts like that, I'm going to accept it and take it all in, because when she's distant and cold, I don't get any affection. And Saturday, there was no problems, none. And I don't understand that you're telling me that she's communicating with this guy Saturday all day. I'm working till noon, come home, eat lunch with her, leave again, come home, and then spend the evening with her, eat supper with her, have sex with her. I can assure you that Saturday night was a good night for us. And I can assure you that we made love that night. And there's no way she would have done that to me if she's got this head on about this other guy. Chris Watts, dude. Remember, he was like, oh, we had sex and then I didn't see her in the morning. And then you have that she's got this head. Dude, he knows about this guy too. Special Agent Grusing said that Suzanne was disclosing things about their love life to the other guy. Barry said, well, I'm sure if she's not disclosing things are having sex with her lover, Barry made air quotes with his hand saying this because that would upset him. So she's probably lying to him if she's saying we're not having sex, because we do, and we did. And I can assure you that that night we did 100%. And February, when I went to meet her in Florida, that's all it was. It was sex. I mean, why would she do that to me if she's got this other guy that she's leaving me for? None of this is making sense. Special Agent Grusing asked what does not make sense to Barry, adding that Barry said earlier things were making sense. Barry said, making sense in God's eyes. Why someone like me, someone like us? Well, now that you told me she was having an affair, maybe, I don't know, maybe in God's eyes, this was his way of resolving something. I don't know. I can't believe it. Barry kissing snakes and shit. He's chatty, narcissistic, borderline personality disorder. Absolutely, Jason. I think Suzanne, I don't know, uncanny patterns. Barry stated, that's just why I said it's making sense to me with God's relationship. None of this. I'm telling you, there's nothing that I knew about. I know I had texts where I said, yeah, you're having an affair, you have a boyfriend. I just did that to reciprocate what she was saying to me. Special Agent Grusing said that Suzanne had on her notes on her phone that Barry accused her of having a boyfriend on May 6th, which is the same day she's texted and said we should just do this civilly. A special agent asked Barry if he remembered that. Barry said, yeah, I remember that, but I didn't mean it. I was just saying it to get her, to try to get her to, Barry talked about striking Suzanne once when he clipped her nose, but that was the only time he was physically abusive. There it is, dude. He just admitted to the agent that he struck her. Dude, Special Agent Grusing said that in doing the victimology work on Suzanne, investigators know that was not the only time she came at Barry, and that when Suzanne got frustrated, she would physically come at Barry. Barry said, she physically came at me several times through my life and I took it. And I'm a man and I'm tough and I can take it. Gotta lie about the scratch marks in front of people when they're on my face. But this is the only time I ever touched her. And I swear to God, I would never lay a hand on my wife. That was just a crazy reflex. Special Agent Harris asked Barry what he meant when he said this might be God's way of resolving things. Barry said, I tell you what, I've had a very hard time understanding why God did this, and he allowed it. If you know what you know what he allows bad things to happen. But all that we've been through, all that we are, I can't understand it. And maybe we'll never understand till we get to heaven. But if I would have known this is a beginning, I wouldn't have to suffer for 9 months not knowing why God did what he did. I'm not saying he did it to punish Suzanne because of her affair, but it makes more sense than what I knew before you guys came today. Barry said he wanted the news of the affair to be kept between agents and him, adding, quote unquote, and if we can keep all this private between us forever, that's all I would ever want. Why is this even admitting to all of this? He's effing stupid too, I know. January 28th, 2021. In this interview, Barry suggested that Suzanne ran away, discussed with agents her numerous trips to meet her lover, was told by agents that her lover thought the affair led to her homicide, and was told nobody cases could be proven. Special Agent Harris and Grusing attempted to contact Barry Morphew in a construction area behind his temporary residence in Poncha Springs, Colorado. He spoke with the agents by cell phone as he walked back and forth in front of the car, about 50 yards away from the vehicle, though agents said they needed to meet with him. Some of the conversation included, I can't see what's in that picture. It's too dark. After thinking about what he learned yesterday, Barry suggested that Suzanne ran away. He said, can you answer that? Can you answer? Could she possibly have staged her bike and got in the car with somebody? I know they did research on all the vehicles that were in the area. And I mean, did that clear that, possibility? Because she's not a dumb person. She's pretty stinking smart. And if she's thinking of just taking off, that's something she would think about. I know her. Is that a possibility that she did that? Special Agent Grusing told Barry that Suzanne sent her lover photos of herself serving as her last proof of life. Barry stated that, well, let me tell you this and see if you can shed some light on this. I told you that in the past year, not the past year, but before that happened the past year, she had taken several trips by herself. Are you guys aware of those? Special Agent Grusing confirmed that Barry replied, and one of them was to Louisiana. Are you aware of that one? Special Agent Grusing confirmed, and Barry replied. And was this individual that she was having an affair with at the location with her? Special Agent Grusing asked Barry his thought and why he brought up Louisiana. Barry stated because it would just, when it happened, and she said that she was going there and it didn't make any sense at all. She's like, I've always wanted to go, blah, blah, blah. And she was going through cancer. I was trying to make her happy, wanted to give her whatever she wanted. But when I was questioning her, it didn't make sense to me why she would want to go there. Barry asked, so I mean, then that means you guys have evidence that she's not. And then the agent stated the FBI uses methods to determine if someone is alive or not. Barry asked, in your system of investigations, these things that or physical evidence, Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 concurred there was little physical evidence, and he told Barry that recently some nobody homicide cases have used the FBI to prove someone is not alive. Barry responded, that's very interesting. Barry asked, was when you approached him, her lover, what was his demeanor? The agent said he was shell-shocked and very contrite. Special Agent confirmed he was shell-shocked and contrite, adding that the man feels bad about it. Barry asked, feels bad? He feels bad about the affair? Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 said he wonders if the affair caused her to disappear and caused her homicide. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 added, Suzanne's lover said, maybe it was my fault. Maybe my relationship with Suzanne caused her to be killed. Barry was silent for a few seconds. Barry stated, see, now you guys are talking. You're talking in that way. It just really bothers me. Hold on one second. Melanie, why is the FBI involved in this? I know. Hold on one second. Let me get my other drink. Okay, so sorry about that. I think her and Joe, who's Joe? The FBI was involved in this, I think, from like the beginning. Okay, Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 asked why, and Barry said, because I have no evidence of my wife being dead. And that's, you guys are absolutely certain of it. And that's very troubling to me. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 said that yesterday Barry said he thought she was under the beaver dam. The mountain lion, the chipmunks, the accident, the kidnapping, the beaver dam. I mean, he thought of everything. Yeah, but on local cops usually involved, and then the FBI gets involved. I don't know. And then everything was dropped, remember? This is crazy. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 said that Barry said, oh yeah, under the beaver dam. I know, but I don't know that for a fact, I said. That's my thought. After 9 months of nothing from anybody, that would seem to make sense why there's no evidence. But I don't know that for a fact. Barry later said, let me ask you a question. You guys have bugged my phone. You've heard every conversation that I've had since May 10th. If there was one thing that I said, I mean, you've done this for 25 years. I mean, there's no conversation that I've had with anybody that would make you guys look at me as a suspect. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 reminded Barry about the problems he cited earlier with CBI, adding that Barry's statements do not make sense with some of the evidence. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 told Barry the FBI was not after him, but just trying to find Suzanne. Barry stated, okay, well, I'm at my meeting. I got to get back to work. Cross borders. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, the chipmunks. Remember he said he was like chasing chipmunks or something? Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe too because of that that tranquilizer stuff too. I think there's like certain factors I think that play a role with the FBI. February 28th. In this interview, Barry asked again for lover's name, gave his code for knowing when people tell lies, discussed his activities on Saturday, May 9th, and significantly changed his earlier accounts to match evidence provided to him, putting a GUN in his hand that afternoon when Suzanne was last known to be alive. At 1:14 p.m., the agent greeted Barry, and Barry replied, hey guys. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 told Barry that agents needed to share information with him. Barry stated, I got a meeting here in about 10 minutes. I was going to head but how long will it take? There he is again. That's a scary picture of him. He's scary looking. Special Agent 𝐿𝐸𝐾 told Barry he was right. He has first right of refusal to the information. He asked, "Is this about her and the guy?" Special Agent 𝐁𝐞𝐥𝐥𝐲 said agents would like to discuss the affair, the technology, and other aspects that Barry can clear this up. After a few minutes, Barry asked, "Are you able to give me the name of the gentleman?" Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said agents could share more information with Barry, then asked him what giving him the name of the man would do for him. Barry answered, "It's just peace of mind. If it was a friend or an acquaintance, just peace of mind. Wouldn't you want to know if it was your wife?" Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said he did not know how he would respond. Barry added, "Yeah, I mean, just to know that wasn't a friend at least." Special Agent confirmed the man was not Barry's friend. I'm kind of glad they didn't tell Barry because I feel like Barry would have gone after Jeff. Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 responded the evidence points towards her not being alive with the facts collected to date, not to determine who is guilty. Barry said, and I'm not guilty. There's no doubt that I'm not guilty. I'm just telling you that from what Joe and Derek did to me. I mean, 𝐁𝐞𝐜𝐫's a liar. And I mean, do you think he's a liar? Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said he did not know if 𝐿𝐴𝐫 was a liar, and Barry interrupted. "That's ridiculous. How could you not know he's a liar from what he said on the stand in front of the Senate?" Barry stated, "Well, I don't know exactly what he said word for word, but they asked him questions and he said, 'I don't recall.' Just like Hillary Clinton. All of them freaking liberals don't recall anything when they don't want to tell the truth." Barry's equating of people saying, "I don't recall," means to him that those people are telling lies. What was told back on April 22nd, 2021, when Barry said, "I don't recall," to most of the critical questions about what happened to Suzanne on Saturday and Sunday on May 9th and 10th. Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 told Barry that agents brought a notebook with evidence they would like to share with him. Barry replied, "Could you answer some questions first? Was she with him in New Orleans?" The agent said she was. Barry asked, "And was she with him in Florida?" Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said she was. After a pause, Barry asked, "In Indiana?" And the agent said she was. Barry said, "How long has this been going on?" The agent replied, 2 years. Barry asked, 2 years? And the agent said it started shortly after they moved to Colorado. Barry asked, "And you can't tell me where they connected the first time?" Special Agent Harris said they connected through social media, and Barry repeated, "Social media?" Barry said, "And the app you said they were using to communicate, there's no way I could have known about that. What was that called again?" Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said agents did not want to give that info to Barry, and he replied, "I'm not going to go hunt." Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 told Barry he was a hunter. Yeah, they were like afraid he was going to go after Jeff. "Those photos look like he's a 50 serial killer in the newspaper." I know. Well, we know who he didn't vote for. Why is he getting political? The FBI agents were the cat and he was the mouse and they were just playing with him. Yeah. Barry said, "I know, but I need this for he continued, "So just tell me who this guy is. I don't know why you can't answer that. I'm not going to go do anything to this guy. I can't afford to leave the only parent my daughter has." Wait, why does he say my daughter? He has 2 daughters. I wonder if it's the one who's defending him. "If I go beat up some guy and go to jail, I can't afford that." Would I want to? Yeah. Would you? Yeah. Somebody screwing your wife for 2 years behind your back, but that's just cold-blooded. Would never do that to a guy. I'm not going to do that. But for just me, my peace of mind, I'd like to just know who it is. And who do you believe? And do you believe me when I say I had no idea this was even happening? Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 said some of the evidence item that agents brought to show Barry would help prove he did not know. Barry said, "Well, I didn't know. I'm telling you right now. She was the last person in the world I would suspect would do this. But for her to pull this off blows me away." There's another picture of him. Barry stated, "Did she leave that night? Because I told Joe and Derek that we had sex and went to bed and I went to sleep, and I work so hard that when I go to sleep, I'm out until 3 o'clock. Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 asked about the hike to 𝐭𝐫𝐻𝑒𝑠 Lake if that happened. Barry said, "Well, I was confused on the hike too. I thought it was Saturday, but after talking to Joe and them, it could have been Friday. It could have been Thursday. I remember us doing that, and I thought it was Saturday." Dude, get your shite together. Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 asked if Barry came home Saturday and then went for a hike or bike ride. Barry said, "When I came home, we did lunch." Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 asked if it was veggie soup, and Barry replied, yeah, lunch." Special Agent 𝐁𝐿𝐴 asked if they hiked after lunch. Barry said, I don't recall, because I don't even recall taking my bobcat back to the crib. Was Barry like high or something? He probably found out about the other daughter is not his. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Interesting opinion. Special Agent Harris confirmed Barry ate too many gummies that night. Special Agent Harris confirmed Barry texted Crib that he was at the house and needed a few minutes. Barry said, okay, yeah, I don't know why. I've got great memory. I don't know why I don't recall that. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 said Barry called Tim backhoe, and Barry said backhoe attachment for the bobcat. And I looked at that. I don't know if it was that day or what. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 told Barry he drove to where the backhoe attachment was, and Barry interjected, looked at it. Barry said, well, I didn't like it. I looked at it and I didn't like it. Yeah, I called him and told him I wasn't interested. Barry eventually said he wasn't interested because of the price. The agent explained that Suzanne took her last proof of life picture while Barry was out on this errand, but it was not apparent where she was. Barry said, oh, she had to be at the house because ... Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 said Suzanne's location at the house was unclear and asked Barry if he would look at the picture. Barry said, yeah, and like I said, I'm running really late. I don't have an hour, but let me look at this. He added, I would really like for you guys, since I'm being cooperative, trying to help you, that you would give me the name of this guy. That's all I want for peace of mind. No, Crib is one of the persons. No, I'm so glad that they didn't give him the name right just then, but he knew. He had to have known. Remember the Christmas party? Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 told Barry he had not been cleared yet in Suzanne's homicide, citing the evidence in the affair and the other collected evidence, and that some of the evidence is contrary to his statements. Barry said, yeah, but it can't contradict my statements. There's just no way. I told Joe word for word, place for place, everywhere I was. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 asked Barry about his first statement of setting his alarm for 4:30 in the morning. Barry stated, I don't remember setting the alarm. I might have told him that. He did. We are catching all of the lies because we've been reading the documents. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 confirmed he told him that. Barry said, but not my phone alarm, the clock alarm. But I set things so many times. I mean, maybe I didn't remember, but I know I wanted to get going early. And sometimes when I know I got to get up early, I set the alarm. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 told Barry the FBI knew he was moving well before 4:30. Barry said, I get up, I got an enlarged prostate. I get up and pee all through the night. What? Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 interrupted and told Barry he was outside in his driveway. Barry said, well, if I did anything outside, it wasn't anything wrong. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 explained Barry's statements do not matter compared to the importance of him seeing the evidence. Barry replied, it doesn't matter. Your evidence does not matter because it's if anything to do with me. Wait, if it's anything to do with me, with tying me up with her disappearance, it's wrong. He keeps saying that to them. Those were huge red flags. TMI, bro. Yeah, TMI. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 said the agents are an auditor role, not determiners of guilt. Barry interrupted, but Johnny, there's nothing on my phone that shows I knew about her affair. So I think you guys know what you're trying to do. You're trying to say that if I knew about that, then I did something. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 later told Barry that Suzanne told Jeannie Ritter not to come over to have coffee that week. Barry said, see, this is all pointing to her leaving. All of it is. And if she's in Mexico somewhere and she's freaked out or something went wrong, how do we know that? Barry said he had to go to work, but agreed to see the photo of Suzanne's last proof of life. That was the selfie she took for the lover, remember? Wow. Barry looked at the photo and said, well, look at her. She's obviously drunk. Look at her eyes. Do you know what drunk eyes look like? He added, I mean, would you say those are drunk eyes? Good thing Barry's not here judging me. Jeez. Special Agent 𝐸𝐸𝐴 said its bloodshot eyes are what he looks for. Barry said, no. It's that lazy eyes is what I see in her, and she drank. Special Agent Grusing asked Barry if she was wearing a swimsuit when he came home. He said she was laying out. When Special Agent Grusing confirmed, Barry said, "Yep, yep." The special agent asked if this arrival at home was after the blade change with 𝐁𝐞𝐸𝐬𝐞. Barry replied, "No, that's from going home after I got finished with Morgan for lunch. She was laying out and then we ate lunch." The special agent said the photo was taken later that day, and he replied, "Then she must have went back out when I left." Special agent asked Barry if Suzanne was still laying out the second time he came back. Barry shook his head and said, "I don't recall that." After a pause, he said, "I don't recall." Special Agent Grusing told Barry that when he arrived that afternoon, his phone went around the house quite a bit. That's when he was chasing her. He's a narcissist and doesn't think he's ever going to get caught, and he's just flapping his gums. He was chasing her around the house with a dart gun, is what I think. Special Agent Grusing, Barry was nodding his head and saying, mm-hmm. Special Agent Grusing asked, "Were you looking for her?" And Barry said, "I shoot chipmunks." Special Agent said, "You shoot chipmunks?" And he said, "Yeah." The agent said, "It looks like he was chasing one." When he was hunting her. I need a drink. Special Barry said, "Yeah, I was. I shot 85 chipmunks because they got into my furnace and cost me a bunch of money. So when I'm home, ... Wait. 85 chipmunks? Are they extinct now because of him? Like, what the? He's sick and demented, dude. My opinion only, but wow. Special Agent Grusing interrupted and asked if he used a 22, and Barry asked 22. So when I'm home, I just walk around and shoot him. Just keep going around the house. Barry made circular motions with his right arm. He said, "Every time I go around the house, I'll see another and I'll shoot it." Special Agent, where's the chipmunks? I would like to know, please. Special Agent Grusing told Barry the activity would explain his phone's behavior, adding that he left his driver door open in the garage before he went to the first patio. Barry said, "Yeah, shooting," while nodding his head during the description of movement. He added, "No, I'm shooting chipmunks. I've done that ever since we moved in." Special Agent Grusing asked Barry if he remembers doing it that day, and he nodded his head and said, "Oh yeah." Special Agent Grusing asked Barry what happened next, and he shook his head and said, "I don't recall." Wait. You shoot 85 chipmunks, but then you don't recall? Do you, like, what color your underwear are even? Like, wow, he was controlling the population. Chasing your spouse with a dart gun is on another F monster. I know. Special Agent Grusing asked about the hike happening then. Barry stated, "It could have been Barry. I know there was one in the 2 or 3 day period where we went to Fuz's, but I don't know. I can't tell you exactly when it was. I don't recall it." Special Agent showed Barry a photo of Suzanne, a photo sent by Suzanne to Jeff in the morning of May 9th, her lover, Jeff, with a series of texts discussing Barry's desire to move to Arizona. When the special agent asked if that was her closet, Barry said, "Yep." The text discussed pizza from the night before, and Barry said, "Yeah." Wait, when does a pizza come into play? Wasn't it like steaks and then veggie soup? Did I miss when the pizza came in? Because I'm like, wait, what? When the text, quote unquote, "he's still wanting Arizona" was read, Barry asked, "Who's he? Me?" The agent confirmed. Barry asked, "Why is she talking to this guy about me and my life?" Special Agent reminded Barry of him asking agents about Suzanne being in Arizona, if he was suspicious about Suzanne's guy being in Arizona at the point. Barry asked, "Is this guy from Arizona?" Special Agent Grusing answered he was not. Barry asked, "Can you tell me what state he's from?" This is weird because he got arrested in Arizona. He had to be extradited. I don't think the lover was from Arizona. Do we remember? I can't remember. But Barry Morphew was living in Arizona this year when the second indictment rolled out. Yep. Special Agent Grusing said he was from Barry's home state, and Barry replied, Indiana, from my hometown. The agent said he could not tell Barry that. Special Agent Harris said if anything happened to the guy, agents would be placing Barry in a bad place. Barry interrupted, I understand that. I understand. And nobody knows but you guys, not Shafi, CBI. Barry was shown a picture of the locations around the Morphew house of Suzanne's phone activity at 4:10 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. on May 10th. He said, well, if she did that, I have no idea that it went anywhere but the house. But if you was to ask me, I'd say it was at the house the whole time. Special Agent Grusing told Barry that agents wanted to complete this with him in the evening. He asked, is it going to be done? When told it would be done, Barry asked, done? The agent told Barry if he sat down with agents and went through the binder, agents would be done talking to him. Barry asked, but what if I tell you something wrong? That was, what different with Joe and Derek? The agent explained that Barry was helpful today and that other interviews would be the same. He said, I mean, these things, they're just not relevant. Special Agent Grusing said agents have a lot of data and Barry is the one who knows. He said, all right, I'll call you when I get finished. And he walked away. And this is a picture of him. So why was the FBI involved? Yeah, I know. February 29th, while Special Agent Grusing and Special Agent Harris were parked about 1 block away from Barry's condo, Barry drove his truck beside the agent's car at about 5:30 p.m. and handed a weathered caliber altered rifle with a newly mounted rifle scope to agents. Barry said that was the gun he used to shoot the chipmunk and he had to leave to work out at the gym. Wow, look at him like in this picture. How crazy. Oh, so that's why the FBI. Yeah, that's why. March 1st. In his interview, Barry again significantly altered his prior statements to adjust to evidence presented to him. He said he turned left on Highway 50 as he left the house on May 10th to see where 𝐿𝐶 were going, which put him in the direction of Suzanne's helmet. The admission to the Sergeant Harris was the first time Barry admitted to turning left on Highway 50 away from the Broomfield route. That counts for the missing mileage from his return trip home from Broomfield Hotel. Barry's odometer registered a 183-mile trip to the hotel that morning, including about 2 miles of deviations and a 167-mile trip on the same route home for approximately 14 extra miles. Special Agent Harris explained to Barry that sometimes questions shed light on things and help investigators know where not to look for Suzanne as well. Agent Harris states there are things about his truck we were wondering and asked Barry when he left from Broomfield, did he turn right or left on Highway 50? Barry said, yeah, there was a herd of elk in the road and there was one bull and he was a nice bull. And they all went up the gully there where that old washed out road is and they went up there. And I'm like, oh, I want to see how big that bull is. And I turned down there and they crossed right in front of me. And then I went down to Garfield, turned around, and then went to Broomfield. Special Agent asked what Garfield is. Barry said it's a little town before the little ski town. Special Agent Grusing asked if this was before Monarch. Barry said, yeah, I turned around there. Special Agent Grusing explained that agents checked and hadn't seen Barry or others go past the Monarch camera. Yeah, he did, Laura. He handed them the weapon. He drove right up to them. Barry said, yeah, I did it. I turned around there. I went that way because I saw those elk. They were in the road right there before I got up to 50. And I let him cross and there was one good bull and in there. And I was like, man, and I just missed seeing how good he was. Yeah, no, I'm a hunter. And I just wanted to see him. And I just turned that way to look at him. That's the only thing. And when I went to Broomfield, I told Joe and Derek everywhere I stopped. I had crap blowing out of the truck. I pull over at one spot, got my truck situated, and went off. So here's Garfield, the helmet. So they're basically saying, no, you lied about where you were. Not Google Earth. Oh my God. Barry's trip to Garfield adds an approximate 5 miles each way to this morning trip and places Barry and his vehicle in the direction the helmet was discarded. West from the bicycle. There you go. There you go. She kept talking and talking, and if he shut his mouth, he probably would have gone away with this. Never once do we hear, can I get a lawyer? Hello? That is wild. That is wild. We still have like 50 pages of this to go. So I'm going to schedule another live for tomorrow evening. I'm determined to get through this indictment, and we will be professionals by the time this trial comes around, because we're going to go through all of them. I got all of them. I got this indictment, and then I got all the other documents. There's like 107 of them. So we're coming for you, Barry, here at Mellyverse. Just kidding, but no, really, we are deep diving this. So make sure you turn on your notifications. This and the whole tranquilizer thing, 100% him. I know. Hey, Michelle. I can't wait to continue reading this tomorrow. That's right. We will be professionals. We will know everything. Barry, watch out. Yeah, it's a good case. No kids are involved. There's a couple clips too I want to show. So tomorrow night, we'll continue reading this. I'm going to try to get through it tomorrow night. But like I said, we still have 60 pages of this. So shout out to you guys for being here with me reading this. I have not read it. I'm shook. I'm shook. The cops were cracking down on illegal chipmunks. I wish. R.I.P. chipmunks. R.I.P. little deer. 60? Yeah. It's 140 pages. Yo, we only have like 60 left. Is there going to be a Melly after dark? I think there is. Narcissists think they're smarter than everyone else. That's why they don't ask for a lawyer very quickly. Dude. I see like a patrol car, you know, in my like apartment complex, and I'm like already calling my lawyer. I like go out the door and I'm already calling my lawyer. No, but this is really, really crazy. We saw the clip where he was smiling in court. And I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted. And I really want to look into the daughters, so I'm going to start doing a little deep diving tonight on that. No, I'm not going to read it. You guys don't go somewhere else and cheat on me. You're reading this here with me. We're going to finish it. She's calling her lawyers right now. Yeah, I am. I'm not saying. I'm just kidding. I believe it. Oh, I don't know. Okay, we'll see. If I don't do a Melly After Dark, don't come for me. We'll do one tomorrow. For sure. I'm going to try to do one tonight. On me. I was joking. Okay, so get back here tomorrow. Turn on notifications. Thank you for being here. This is the Suzanne Morphew case. Make sure you are back tomorrow so we can finish this. Thank you for being here. The daughters are sus. I know. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. Shout out to all my mods. I will see you on the next Melly After Dark or the next true crime. Thanks for being here, guys. Bye.